Tell him about the time we faced them.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because united, the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel D&T Evolution podcast with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
Good to be back, fellas. Good to be back. We're a little bit late with some scheduling conflicts for this week, but it does mean that we get to speak about 2 episodes of Hawkeye rather than just 1. So that's good. But yeah, it's nice to see you. How are you doing, Jarian? All right?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Excited to talk about these 2 episodes because I was really pumped to talk about it last week after last week's episode. So today we're getting that double header. So
excellent.
Excited.
Excellent. Alex, how are you?
I'm good. I actually just watched Hawkeye like about an hour ago, so I'm pretty fresh, on the new episode. So
yeah, me too. We've only just finished watching it about an hour or 2 ago. So yeah, that's still fresh in my mind. But before we start, I don't know if you can see, if anybody's watching in the background, look at that.
The Eye of Agamotto. Nice.
That is the Eye of Agamotto that my wife bought for me for my birthday, and it's really cool. I'll do the little windy up thing now. I haven't got a battery in it at the moment, and it does make a funny noise. But if you can see, if anybody's watching the video, it's closed at the moment, and then you press this little button on the top, and then there's supposed to be batteries in there, so it lights up. But then you press it, and it opens up.
Whoa!
Gotta do your hand gesture.
You could do it. I was
Yeah.
I was practicing it, but then I thought no. And then the little if you press the button as well, the gem comes out.
Nice.
Wow.
And when you've got the battery in, it sends a little charge to the gem, and the gem glows even when it's out of the eye.
Nice.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
I know. Tell me about it. So that was my birthday present from my wife.
I really like the stand on that too. Like, the
Yeah.
stand
Yeah,
is
it's
really
nice.
awesome.
Yeah, it's nice. It's got some nice patterning on it as well. Yeah, but yeah, it's really cool. So it all sort of fits together, and yeah, there we go. That's a little artifact in the background. I'm going to leave it just up there like that. Lovely. But anyway, yeah. So there you go. That was new for my birthday 2 days ago. So yeah.
And happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, 1 year closer to the big 40. So this time next year, I'll be sitting here in a new decade. But it's all good. What was I going to say? Just a little recap of last episode. We had Steve Honeycutt on with his great insight into the world of comics that aren't to do with superheroes, and obviously his journey developing his own comic, Escape to Earth. So that was really interesting to have Steve on.
Yes.
Yeah, I really liked this comic, by the way.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's great, isn't it? Yeah, I can't wait to get the rest of it and actually read the whole thing. I really liked these his main character, and like I said to him last week, he did strike me as that sort of lovable rogue, Han Solo, Peter Quill, that kind of person who you just sort of think he's could come across as a little bit, a little bit silly, a little bit moronic, but actually, he's quite clever. He's quite sort of street smart. He knows what's going on. But yeah, I really liked his character, and the female character that was introduced towards the end of that 8 pages obviously seemed like a very sort of strong female character. A little bit, again, I keep using the Star Wars and Guardians references, but a little bit like Leia, a little bit like Gamora,
Yep.
that kind of powerful female character with the kind of slightly silly, moronic main character. But yeah, worked really well. Really enjoyed it. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that be completed.
I really thought the artwork in that like matched up really well with the story for
Yes.
what we saw. So like that was why I was so curious. I was kind of like beating that dead horse. I was like, like how do you do that? Like, how do you tell the story, but also have like the artwork tell the exact same story that you're trying to tell as the writer, like
especially across, like what Steve was saying, that the artist and him are not in the same room together. That must be even more difficult to find that kind of connection over video, over the internet, over distance, over countries, or wherever it might be.
Yep.
So it's good that someone can pick up the script and read it and sort of then translate that script into images that actually relate to the script.
Yeah.
That's a talent.
Very,
That's a
very
talent.
awesome.
Very good, very good. And speaking of guests, I must have had my weeks wrong for about a month because I keep thinking that I'm going next week. Every week I keep going, next week we're going to have Luke on talking about No Way Home, and I just keep forgetting when it is. But really now, next week Luke is going to be on talking about No Way Home because it's next week now. It's literally this time next week. So we're recording a little bit late. It's Wednesday, so we're a little bit late because of birthdays and scheduling conflicts and illnesses and etc. etc. But this time next week, I would have seen No Way Home. Quite excited. And we will have Luke on. And I've just tapped up a new guest today. I won't say too much, don't want to ruin any surprises, but tapped up a new guest today that we'll be speaking to in the new year. So we'll be getting some fresh voices on, guys. Don't worry about that. So it's been a couple of weeks since we've had a big sort of news hit, Jarian. I know we've got quite a lot of pieces, but we're going to stick to 3 main areas. Over to you.
Yeah, so Secret Invasion. Kobe Smulders is back playing Maria Hill. So interesting to see, and there's some speculation that she could have been a Skrull this entire time. So
oh wow, since like Avengers 1.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That would be interesting.
I mean, obviously we see her in Far From Home as a Skrull.
Yes.
I mean, but do we think that do we think that it's the same person, the same Skrull that's played her, or is it a different Skrull that was playing her? It
can't be the same because Talos' wife was. Well, actually, no, it could be the same because, I'm getting my movies mixed up here because the time frame of the movie, not the MCU order, but the time frame of Captain Marvel was before everything else started.
It was like 90s,
except
right?
Captain America. Yeah, except Captain America. So she could have been a Skrull the entire time.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
Could have been her.
Could have been Talos' wife the whole time.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be fun.
It also makes you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it. Go.
It also makes you wonder how long has Nick Fury been a Skrull?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how long he's been playing that game.
Well. Plus, you have the Skrulls like supposedly here since like the early '90s with Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Like they could have infiltrated, basically gotten positions of power over decades. With various different roles and people that they impersonated and stuff like that.
And like that was the point in the Secret Invasion comic, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, could Pierce been a Skrull, or any of the Hydra members been Skrulls?
Yeah.
I think we'll find that they've had sleeper cells everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited for Secret Invasion. If there's one, I mean, I'm excited for all the projects coming up, but Secret Invasion is certainly one of the ones that I'm really looking forward to. I hope that we get enough of it. I mean, I don't think they've said how many episodes it is yet, have they?
No, but most of them have been like 6 episodes for these shows. So
I hope it's more than 6. Like,
yeah,
I hope it's
or
at
longer.
least 8, maybe 8, hopefully.
Or longer episodes. Remember, it's their platform. They're not stuck to a time window. So.
Oh no, I think they. So I've got on my little list on my phone, and I was sort of keeping track of official releases, and official news, and apparently it's 6 episodes. So I don't mind 6 episodes as long as it's 6 decent length episodes, like as long as they're 40-45 minutes, like Hawkeye seems to be. If we're getting 6 30-minute or less episodes, 30 minutes on Disney Plus, so that means 23 minutes with 7 minutes of credits.
Yeah.
But as long as we get sort of 45-minute episodes and really flesh out the episode rather than just sort of quickly getting in and getting out again, and you're like, hold on, what's happened? You don't really get a chance to process it, do you?
Well, there's a lot going on there, like there's a lot of moving pieces in that story. So you got to have like a lot of time to actually like develop that and lay that groundwork, I feel like.
I agree, especially if they do intertwine all of these different eras and say, yeah, look, the Skrulls have been around from, and from here and from here and from here. And, you want to see that. Well, how did they get away with it? And how did they get in there? And where's the real person gone? And, hopefully they don't just gloss over that and go, oh, yeah, they've been around forever. And here we go. We're here now.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a Winter Soldier / Black Widow intro of showing the Skrulls throughout history type to start the show off. And then if Secret Invasion doesn't intertwine with the Marvels and any other properties, or even go into like the next Avengers movie, or the next team up movie as well, I don't think they're going to get this resolved in one season, 6 episodes. So Most likely, it's going to continue into a movie or continue into a second season. Is my guess.
Well, and with those Winter Soldier vibes that you were talking about, like Captain America's second movie, it's so funny. You have Hydra that's like always been like secretly in the fold this entire time. The Skrulls, it can be very similar with them too.
Yeah.
Very very similar like situation, except for they can just change appearances. That's the only difference. So it's a little bit harder to deal with them, but.
Or what they play it to where like once the Skrulls started showing up, they infiltrated, or the bad Skrulls infiltrated and took over Hydra.
Yeah.
Somebody said, I can't remember. I'm sure it wasn't one of us. I'm sure it was a guest. And somebody said that there's a lot going on at the minute in the MCU. A lot of big storylines going on at the minute. So you've got the multiverse that's obviously started to happen and going to continue to happen. You've got the secret invasion thing that's happening by the looks of it next year. And you've got the sort of Thunderbolts thing that seems to be happening as well, that nothing's really been announced and we don't really know, but you can kind of, the sense with Val, and we'll talk about that in a little minute. And you've got the Young Avengers that are all sort of turning up. So there's sort of 4 or 5 big kind of things that are happening all at once. And I don't know whether it's, is there too much going on at one time or not?
Unless it all ties together at some point,
I like to be optimistic, and I like to think I don't know if you remember back in like the beginning when we had no expectations of ever seeing like the Infinity Gauntlet or anything like that. Like we had the first Avengers, like we had little like breadcrumbs laid for things that like maybe it would be used one day if it ever went anywhere. So like I kind of hope that's what they're doing here, is like, if it keeps on going long enough, like maybe we've got the foundation there, we can expand on it. But
that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
May not be necessary to really like focus on right now, but maybe one day.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. They'll, like you say, dropping those little breadcrumbs and saying that these stories are here. We can play them if we want, but we don't have to. Yeah. No, okay. That's a fair point. But fundamentally, Kobe Schmolder's back as Maria Hill, Skrull or not a Skrull. I think that's a good thing. I quite enjoy watching her play Maria Hill in all of the outings that she's done it in so far. So it's good to see her back.
You're rightly, Maria Hill in the cartoon was a key point. It was either Earth's Mightiest Heroes or Assemble, where she was like the key point in the Secret Invasion storyline.
Okay. I don't think I've seen the Avengers Assemble version of it. I've seen the Earth Mightiest Heroes.
It was must have been Earth Mightiest Heroes. It was one of them where she was like the main one.
Right. Okay.
In that storyline. So.
But it's good stuff. Good to see her back. And if wait a minute, so she was in phase 1, she was in phase 2, she was in phase 3, and now she's going to be in phase 4 as well.
Yep.
So there's not many that have done that, is there?
Clint, Fury,
yeah. Clint's done it. Fury's done it.
Maria Hill,
Rhodey's done it.
Rhodey.
Technically Black Widow because her movie took place.
Loki.
Yeah.
Loki, Thor.
Yeah.
Thor,
has he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well,
Thor.
he will have done, but he hasn't yet.
Yeah.
Guardians?
Was that?
No, they weren't in 1.
No, they're phase 2. That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's not many that have done that yet. So, I mean, obviously that will change in the next year. I should imagine you'll get a load of them.
Hulk, Banner. So
yeah, they will all turn up eventually. But anyway, good stuff. Maria Hill back. We like that. What's our next stop, Joe?
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So Peyton Reed, the director, he shared on Twitter that the film is officially wrapped production by tweeting, "Principal photography on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is now complete. Can't wait to show you all what we've been up to." So that's good news.
Nice. And we got that
next
stunt
year
T-shirt, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a stunt T-shirt as well that shows the cracked Ant-Man helmet, and you see Kang's reflection in it, which kind of follows the theme of all the third movies of something getting destroyed, whether it's suits, whether it's the hammer, but of all the trilogies, the shield, something gets destroyed or taken away.
Yeah.
Nice. And looked very comic accurate as well.
Yep.
Kang in that reflection, whether that's a true reflection, excuse the pun, of what he looks like in the movie or not, or whether that's just for the T-shirts, who knows?
looked very similar to the statue at the end of season 1 of Loki.
Yes.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, hopefully they can continue, have that continuity of Kang throughout history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we will have season 2 for Loki hopefully soon. So hopefully we get a little bit more on that front too.
He's certainly going to tie in everywhere, isn't he, Kang?
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of all over the place, So
yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping that we don't see the end of him, like when we think we've seen the end of him. Do you know what I mean? I hopefully that Jonathan Majors will just be around forever in the MCU and just pop up, like Kang does, exactly like Kang does. Kang's just been around forever, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, it's Kang, or it's Immortus, or it's Ramtut, or it's one of the other versions of him that's had something to do with this. So that'd be interesting.
Like he just jumps through time or jumps through multiverse and just shows up as a threat.
Yeah, basically, yeah. When you're lacking a threat, don't worry, Kang will turn up.
Kang. Other news too. There's some rumors. The first one is that Kate Bishop will appear in Quantumania. So this to me sounds more like a small cameo or an end credit scene, possibly recruiting Cassie Lang's stature. Set up Young Avengers possibly because they do have history in the comics. So interesting to see what this turns out to be with Kate Bishop rumored to show up in Quantumania.
Yeah, that's what I reckon, Jarian. I reckon it's her and Cassie Lang, or Stature.
Yep,
is a hero name.
I can't really imagine her being in that movie for any other purpose other than for that.
Yeah, there's no real reason, is there? At least what we haven't seen at the moment. Although we don't know what the watch is all about yet, but we can talk about that in a minute.
We also know that
something to do with something.
That Clint and Hawkeye do have a little history in the MCU because Clint's the one to go pick up Scott for Civil War. So there is some tie there. So in that same sense, maybe Clint's like, "Hey, Kate, I need you to go check in on Scott," and maybe she ends up running a stature to Cassie.
Yeah. Like that's a good point. Actually, that's that nice little connection there, isn't there, between Clint and Scott? Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I reckon we can bank on the Young Avengers link for that one.
And then the big news that dropped today is that, well, this is not okay. So let me backtrack there. This is not news today, but this ties to the news today. MODOK will have a big role in Quantumania as well. Now, it was reported before that Jim Carrey was going to voice MODOK, but it seems that that's not going to happen, at least not in Quantumania. So when I heard this news about MODOK being in there without Jim Carrey, I'm like, well, Bill Murray has been, basically they're saying Bill Murray has been cast for the movie. Is Bill Murray the one going to cast or voice MODOK, right? Which I thought there for a while. But today's big news is that this is from the GWW, so Geeks Worldwide, is that Corey Stoll is playing MODOK. So if you don't know, remember who Corey Stoll is, he was Darren Cross, a.k.a. Yellow Jacket, in the first Ant-Man film. Now, we do know we saw the huge head in the void in Loki. So with Darren Cross, the Yellow Jacket getting sucked into the quantum realm, is that how he survived by some kind of technology and so forth? And that's how he becomes MODOK. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because reading more about this in the rumors is that he's still Cross, but he'll become MODOK. So again, it's almost like whatever happened to him at the quantum realm when he got shrunk by Scott into the quantum realm, and then similar to how Janet survived in the quantum realm those years, we saw that small city. Maybe there's something that he comes across to make him MODOK and survive.
Didn't he shrink like one body part at a time?
Yeah.
He sort of,
Yeah, like maybe that's the reason why he,
has little arms and little legs.
Yeah,
it's like MODOK, the huge head, the huge body, the small arms and legs. So his helmet in Loki was an odd inclusion, wasn't it? Actually, at the time, and it still seems odd now. And to be honest, even somebody said today, I think it might have been our Dave, might have said about it being a bit of foreshadowing, if the huge head. Yep. That we
Murdoch's
saw on the
huge head.
ground. Yeah.
So it might be interesting to see if that is it. I've got to admit though, I must say I'm a little bit disappointed if it does work out like that, because I'm one of these people. I'll get an idea in my head, and I'm like, and if I think it's a really good idea, I'll be like, God, that's got to happen. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to be really disappointed. Yeah, it's totally sad. I mean, at this point, if Zac Efron doesn't play Wolverine, I'm just going to quit watching everything to do with comics. And if anybody's listening to that for the first time, they've never heard me or seen me say that on the group, like, you can by all means tag me in something and just say, what are you going on about, and I'll sell it to you. Anyway, we spoke to Monty, didn't we, a few weeks ago, and we spoke about that sympathetic villain and that kind of and I'll tell you what else I've done last couple of days. I started playing the Avengers game on the Xbox, and MODOK or George Tarleton plays a big role in that. And he is kind of this kind of bumbling scientist, and then he the accident happens, and then he starts becoming this kind of corrupted person. And I really like the idea, like we said when we spoke to Monty a few weeks ago, we come up with that sort of the sympathetic villain, this kind of, he's been picked on at work and everybody laughs at him, and you kind of feel sorry for him in a way, and they sort of make him go into this experiment, and they make him be this kind of person that he doesn't want to be, and then he turns into this person he doesn't want to be. And I really like that route of, it's almost like the bullied person becomes the villain. You almost, for a while, you sympathize with them, and then until they become a psychopath, and then you then want the hero to win. But I think that's a nice contrast between a hero, especially actually a hero like Scott, who has got some questionable past. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, he's not, but he's done some things. He's been a thief and all of that kind of stuff. And then having this villain who you kind of like, well, actually, am I rooting for him? Because I do kind of feel sorry for him a little bit. So I really like that idea. So I was kind of looking forward to maybe seeing something like that. But I can dig Corey Stoll playing him, or Darren Cross, or wherever it is.
But think about what you just said. Go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna say, do we think that we saw AIM kind of teased in Iron Man 3? Do we think that'll have any connection to MODOK possibly in the future? Like
maybe.
Yeah.
So here's my thoughts on it. So I'll just both of what you guys have said, because Alex kind of had another angle to what I was thinking about. So you think about what you said about MODOK, and I'm going blank on the name again.
George Tarleton.
Yeah, George Tarleton. Sorry, I went blank there. And George Tarleton, and you think about Darren Cross and his arc in Ant-Man, the first movie, kind of similar lines there. He was always in Hank Pym's shadow. He was doing stuff to get out of Hank Pym's shadow. Remember when Hope said the suit's making you crazy, kind of making you that thing. So it's almost a similar line there with Darren Cross. If Darren Cross indeed is playing MODOK, to where maybe, in the quantum realm, he meets some other people that can kind of save him, but by saving him, he becomes MODOK, but kind of similar storyline there. And Alex mentioned AIM. What if AIM is the company that kind of took over, the people that took over Darren Cross's company after it got destroyed? Any remnants they could have found of it? Maybe AIM's tied to the special buyer. Who knows? Because they kept wanting all the Pym stuff, right? So think about from Ant-Man to Ant-Man the Wasp, special buyer wanting Hank Pym's technology, wanting the information. What if that's AIM? What if that's someone tied to helping trying to get Cross out of the quantum realm?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's nice. I like that theory actually. Yeah.
So just something. Yeah. Just some parallels there.
Or maybe somehow it's Cross himself trying to do it from the quantum realm.
Ooh, that could be good. Yeah. Because remember, Janet was doing that with Scott and the antenna that she put in his head to get out of the quantum realm. So maybe I don't know, with all the shrinking and everything going on with all different stuff, someone got something similar, or he found some other way to communicate from the quantum realm to somebody else outside of the quantum realm.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe
maybe AIM found a way to communicate with him.
Or maybe he finds a way, it does exactly what Janet did with Scott, but with George Tarleton.
Yeah, there you go. Boom.
There
Maybe
we go, we
George
just solved
Harrington
it.
in the MCU is the AIM scientist working with Cross in the
Yeah.
mixed Cross Modoc. There you go, Andy. Yeah.
There you go. Oh, I'm happy now.
Yeah.
And
We was
we're
right.
set on it. We're set on it.
And scene. Whoops! Be careful there. You're knocking Funkos over the heads of Bobbin.
I saw it. I hit my head, and they've all gone. Oh no! I'll have to fix that later. Yeah, no, that's definitely what's going to happen. Brilliant. So, yeah, lots of news there for Ant-Man Quantumania.
And I want to add
Yeah.
one thing here. I'm going to throw a curveball because after the Shang-Chi announcement about upcoming sequels and Disney Plus spinoffs and Creston is back, there was also some news about rumored 2023 production starting. Fantastic Four, Nova, a Okoye series spinoff from Wakanda Forever, and the Shang-Chi sequel, which goes to my next bit of news is Nova. Nova's starting to pop back up in the news again. So Kevin Feige had some thoughts on Nova. The opening of Avengers Infinity War seemingly set up a possible origin story for Richard Rider, with Thanos decimating Xandar off screen in pursuit of the Power Stone. During the press rounds for that film, and this is back from Infinity War, Kevin Feige teased the immediate potential of the character, but over 3 years later, he's still yet to be seen. In a recent interview with comicbook.com, Feige was asked if it was more likely we'd see the human rocket introduced in his own project or another film. And as he often does, Feige didn't give much of an answer. So here's how Kevin answered that. Feige: it's a good question. It's a good question. We have plenty, it depends. We oftentimes see Black Panther as a great example, where we're always working a Black Panther standalone. The world of Wakanda had to dive into that. Then the opportunity for him to appear first in Civil War came up. So it always varies. So again, there's a rumored production starting date for Nova for 2023. Nova's probably back up in the news. Are there some breadcrumbs there? And are they actually going to now do the Black Panther route where we see Nova maybe in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, maybe teased? And then Nova goes into his own origin story film. Or do we see Nova pop up somewhere else, like maybe the Marvels, maybe on one of the other TV shows? I don't know what other TV show he pop up in for Disney Plus series right now. But maybe pop up in the Marvels, maybe pop up in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Love and Thunder, maybe possibly, because there's always cosmic stuff in Thor movies. So it's interesting to see that, and with that rumored production start of 2023, which didn't say if it was a series or a movie. But it seems like Nova is starting to pick up traction again.
Yeah, I'd quite like to see Nova, and I think going back to what you were saying about, or what Kevin Feige was saying about the origins of these characters, where and I think it's something that I kind of touched on a couple of weeks ago on the show, was that we're now seeing things that have happened in the MCU 10 years ago or so. Set the stage for things that are happening now, and a perfect example of that is what's going on right now is Hawkeye. Yep. Obviously we saw that scene from the Avengers movie, the first Avengers movie in 2012, and that's kind of what set the wheels in motion for this particular show. So we could see that same thing again. These events that have happened historically in the MCU and now are affecting some things that are happening now, and we're kind of seeing them from a different angle, retrospectively now, and they've created a new character. So yeah, I mean, we've known that was kind of there, haven't we, ever since Guardians.
And we're still wondering who that addition to the Guardians cast is going to play. We don't know who he's going to play. We people think it's Beta Ray Bill. Someone said Surfer. Could he be Nova?
Yeah.
And maybe at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, we actually have that flashback of the decimation of Xandar, and then seeing Nova get created, and then the Guardians run into him, and
I feel like there's a very good chance that could be Nova.
Yeah.
Like even if it's just for just a small introduction to like Nova third act, maybe,
Because Richard Rider is the Nova, the most sort of popular Nova, isn't it?
Yep.
A Nova that's been Nova, and then there's a younger lad, isn't there? Sam Alexander.
Yep.
Sam Alexander, yeah. but there was but the Nova mantle, they're Nova Corps, aren't they? So they've been, and they've got the what's the helmet, the world, what's it called, in the helmet they hear the world, it's not the world engine, is it? Something
It's like the power of the Nova Corps.
yeah
But I forgot what it's called.
It's the world something, I can't remember what it is now off the top of my head, but yeah, it's the world something that they get in there. It's the knowledge, isn't it? The world knowledge or something like that. I can't remember what it's called now. But yeah, they get that in their helmet. So it's kind of a mantle, especially, you know, that sort of passed down a little bit Green Lantern-esque, I think, isn't it? In a way.
Kind of like police force-ish, kind of like the Green Lanterns, you know, kind of.
Yeah. So we could be seeing the mantle almost passed down until we maybe find a Richard Rider or a Sam Alexander. Is it going to be someone younger, or are we going to see an older actor or an older Nova or a younger Nova?
Or maybe we see John C. Reilly coming back and he's the only survivor of Xandar, and he's the one that kind of transfers that power to or becomes a Nova in the MCU.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
I like John C. Reilly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a strange addition to that movie though. That really was a bit odd when I first sort of realized that he was in Guardians. I was like, that's strange. I mean, I know he's a comedic actor and it was kind of a comedic film, but you know, it was a bit odd.
But besides Glenn Close being Nova Prime, he was the only standout really person on, person on from the Nova Corps that kind of stood out was John Trial's character, right? And they had a little arc of him in that story, because the other guy that didn't trust the Guardians, he died in the battle with Ronan. So
yeah, and they showed his family as well, didn't they? John
Exactly. So who else? Unless it's Glenn Close doing it, who's gonna transfer that power to the new Nova? Interesting.
What's next, Jarian? What's next?
That's it. The news today. Now let's talk Hawkeye episodes 3 and 4.
Brilliant. So some good news, and I know you've got loads of other stuff, but we could sit here and go on for hours. But yeah, as you quite rightly put it, we've got 2 episodes of Hawkeye to talk about. So well, first and foremost, coming from me, we got a quality car chase last week. I was really pleased with that, and I think actually, if there was any scene from a comic to live action that would have been hard to do, it was that whole that car chase with the arrows. But Kate basically played the title of the arrow, like is in the panel. So in the comic, there's the scene, isn't there? And then at the bottom, you've got the title of the arrow, boomerang arrow or whatever it was. And Kate basically did that bit. She was like, oh, goo arrow, bam. And then every time she said it, I kind of envisaged that little panel across the bottom, the title of the arrow before she fired it. That was a superb action sequence, I think. And the first couple of minutes, how they recorded it with the camera that seemed to be on a swivel inside the car, and the car was spinning round. That was really well done. My only complaint is that the trailer, or whatever it was called, sizzle reel, whatever, from Disney Plus Day, showed a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I wish I never actually watched it now. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I'd have seen it for the first time last week than the week before, in Disney Plus Day.
Well, they did kind of trick us with the arrow, though, because in the trailers, the arrow did not say Pym on it. Mm-hmm. And then we saw the big Pym arrow at the end in the Pym tech. So, again, another Hawkeye, Scott Lang tie,
That's a good point.
Because I don't see Hank Pym doing that. That's Scott Lang making those arrows, probably with Clint.
Yeah, that's a good point. So they've obviously had some sort of connection between then and Endgame.
Yep. Unless we find out that maybe Hank Pym kind of took over the Tony Stark role for the Avengers after the events of Endgame.
Yeah, maybe. Although, having said that, and I don't want to necessarily jump forward to this week's episode really super quick right now, but super quick. He does say there's no more trick arrows, don't he?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
It's almost like the bankroll's gone. there's no bankroll anymore.
But
And we kind of feel that from Falcon and Winter Soldier as well, don't we? Where Falcon's got bugger all, like the bankroll's gone. They're bankrolled by Wakanda now. Well, his new suit wasn't it? So,
but we did see, and we haven't seen this yet in the series. There was a screenshot of Clint working with Stark Tech to build new arrows. We have not
was
seen
that Stark
that yet.
Tech, or was that his earpiece?
No, it said Stark, and there were arrows.
Oh right, okay.
So
right, okay, fine.
But,
well,
yeah. So maybe we'll see that.
But the Pym arrow was possibly the
Yeah.
best moment that I've seen in the MCU for a long time. Actually, I was like, oh yes, that's awesome. I was like, he's gonna shoot that arrow. It's gonna go big.
It was so funny because watching that scene until like I noticed that it was the Pym arrow, because I remember seeing it in the trailer or in the pictures or whatever, and you didn't see the Pym, so
Nope.
I never even looked at the arrowhead. I was just like, why is he going to shoot another arrow with another arrow? And then like as soon as I saw it happen, I was like, whoa, like what did I just see?
Is it kind of
Yeah.
a throwback to Civil War II, where he shot Scott with the arrow to go to Iron Man? So
I'm really arrow guy.
yeah. So I wonder if there's some parallels there too, also.
Yeah, definitely.
But for me, this episode off the bat with the intro to Alakwa Cox's Echo / Maya Lopez, they did that really well. And on display, because Maya Lopez Echo is not an amputee in the comics, but Alakwa Cox is, and this is actually her first acting role. This is her first role here, and they put that full on display with her, and I thought was great. And what I didn't know until later on is the little girl, the actress that played her as a little girl, that's her cousin.
It's her cousin, yeah.
Yes, and her cousin learned ASL just for this role.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I found that out today, actually.
Yeah, so they were. I was really well done. And we, with Echo's arc and Maya Lopez, she ends up with Daredevil. She wears the Ronin suit. She gets away from Fisk. So it's interesting to see what her arc is going to be. In the MCU, because am I the only one? And Jamie brought this to my attention, and when I watched it again, I started noticing this too. There's some tension between Kazi and Maya in this show, almost like, because I know if I remember in the comics, Kazi is the one that kills her father by order, or Kingpin does by order of Kingpin. Kills her father. And she finds out later, and that's how she turns from bad to good. So I almost wondered, with as much interest Kazi has in the Ronin suit and what's going on, and her not pursuing this angle, did Kingpin order Kazi to kill her father dressed up as Ronin?
Mm-hmm.
Because even today's episode, jumping forward, when they're talking in the car, I'm just like, there's something there. And once Jimmy said that to me, and I keep watching the episodes, there's something there.
Yeah, and Clint like makes that line about like how the leader has changed, but yet he's always been in the same position. And that one, like Kazi's always been like, he's never really progressed any higher, and he's always been happy, and he's been there for years. And he would be the guy that would know, all the skeletons in the closet, kind of type of deal. Yeah. So,
and don't forget, her and Kazi have been friends since they were kids. Because in that karate scene where the big kid is taking down that kid, that's Kazi as a kid. So they've been friends that long.
She's not bad. I don't think she's bad at all, is she? And I don't think her dad was either. Her dad seemed like a decent guy, and it seemed like he got sort of into the wrong things for the right reasons. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And he kind of got carried away with that life, and he was trying to, I guess, earn money for his daughter to help her with her with her issues.
Yep.
And things like that. And I think that's he seemed like a decent guy, which is what surprised me when he was a tracksuit. So I think deep down she's a good person as well, which we'll obviously find out. I should imagine that she'll end up being a hero rather than a villain in this series. I should imagine we'll see that before she gets her own series. But she's cool. She's cool. And in this episode today as well, she had that little moment where she sort of bowed out in the end, didn't she? She was sort of, okay, I can see what's going on here. And she had a second thought, didn't she?
Yeah. And then, but it's back to her dad, though. It just seems like he did what he had to do to survive and to provide for his daughter. So it does seem like, and maybe maybe, and if it does end up being that Kazi killed her father, maybe he was wanting out of the tracksuits. Maybe he was, turning to a different lifestyle, and that's why they set up to look like Ronin to kill him to keep Maya under control.
Yeah, that sounds very feasible, doesn't it? Yeah. But also, before we move on completely from last week's episode, the uncle, the hand
Yes.
on the shoulder, an uncle. I mean, come on, if that's not Vincent D'Onofrio, I don't know who is.
Everyone keeps saying that him being in this series is the worst kept secret right now. So the hand, the suit, it's he definitely Fist.
Didn't Kingpin in the comics try and convince her that Daredevil killed her father?
Yes, he did, and then she was after Daredevil, but she was in love with Murdoch, and she ends up shooting Fisk in the face in the comics when she finds out the truth. If I remember correctly. But yeah, she was after Hawkeye, but she ends up being in love with Murdoch. Doesn't know that Murdoch is I'm sorry, not Hawkeye. With Daredevil, doesn't know that Murdoch is Daredevil, but they have a relationship. If I remember correctly.
So in this situation, obviously we may not get Daredevil. I mean, just throw that to the side, obviously. But like with Kingpin, do we think that maybe Kingpin could have done this to maybe like sharpen her to make her like a weapon,
control her? Yeah.
Well, I mean, to like make her a killing machine, give her a reason to be like an assassin.
Because obviously he's been there and influenced in all her life for them showing that moment with her as a kid and picking her up from karate practice. So
and we just had that little bit of dialogue in this episode where Clint was saying the same sort of thing, that he's been, he saved lives, but he was trained to be a killer, and he was just pointed in the right direction, by the right people is how he put it, wasn't he? But and obviously maybe Maya's been pointed in the wrong direction by the wrong people.
So maybe Clint will help steer her in the right direction.
Yeah, and bear in mind what the whole program's called. It's sorry, not what the whole program's called. What the comic book run was called. That this is based on my life as a weapon.
Yep.
Which and he almost says that exact phrase in the episode.
Yeah, he nearly said that. I was like, oh, he's going to say it. That's fun. That's like when they say the title of a movie in the movie.
So one thing I was really pumped for, besides the whole Alakwa Cox, Maya Lopez Echo piece of last episode, was the very end of the episode when they go to Kate's mom's house and we see Jack grab that sword, the Ronin, or not, it wasn't, the Ronin sword,
it was,
and go to Hawkeye. I'm like, okay, this is it. We're finally going to get some kind of origin story for Clint in the MCU, because out of the core 5 Avengers, he's the only one we have not gotten anything origin about him yet, because we have the Incredible Hulk movie, which basically is the origin story for Banner. We had Iron Man 1. We had Thor 1, which had the flashbacks and that kind of stuff, and Black Widow. So Hawkeye is the only OG Avenger who we've not gotten that origin story out of. We even have an origin story for Rhodes becoming War Machine, So it seems like that was the perfect opportunity to go back into the comics and, Swordsman being his mentor, trainer, the whole circus thing, the whole marriage with Mockingbird, Bobby something.
They even mentioned him in the Black Widow movie, in Black Widow's origin, with her joining S.H.I.E.L.D., but they, they never showed anything. So,
exactly.
I don't know.
Like they're teasing us. I was like, all right, next episode it's gonna go down. They're gonna acknowledge each other. There's gonna be some kind of like quick fight or something, or some kind of flashback with Barton in his pre-S.H.I.E.L.D. days, but we got nothing. And are we done with episode 3? Or can I go to episode 4 beginning?
Yeah.
Okay. And starting with episode 4, it's a coffee sit down with her mom, Jack, Clint, and Kate. I'm just like, come on now. Now, unless they're playing coy, and at some time between episode 5, episode 6, we see some kind of indication they do know each other. I think it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think I thought that at first, that we might see that they were doing that, but I don't think so. I don't think that they're going to go there with Jack and Clint. I think they've skipped that part. But I don't know. It is a shame, because you would like to see that was mentioned again this week, wasn't it, about the shot that he didn't take?
Yep.
That was the best shot that he's ever had. It was the one that he didn't take. So it was kind of seeing a bit of stuff pre-Avengers of Clint, or hearing about it at least. I'm trying to work out how old are his kids. Do you think?
I would probably.
There was that piece of paper in the episode.
Yeah, I'll think back and look.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was, wasn't there?
I think one was like 12, one was maybe like 16.
Yeah, the older lad. Should know his name, shouldn't I? But the older lad.
One thing I thought real quick, I want to jump back to the last episode. Is like, did you guys also see how insulted Maya was for him having a hearing aid? It's almost like her powers come from her disabilities in a way, and she's insulted by him having to use one. I thought that was interesting too, and wonder if that has any playing going forward as well. But back to episode 4. Sorry, that just popped in my head real quick.
No, crack on. Yeah, I'm just going to find out now because
I think two are teenagers and one's probably 5 or 6, maybe, or 4 to 6 in age.
One's really young.
Yeah, the youngest son has to be like 4 to 6 probably.
Cooper's the oldest lad, isn't he?
Yeah, he's probably in his mid-teens, probably early teens.
Yeah, I think so. Because obviously Nathaniel is the baby. Nathaniel Pietro, he was the one that was born just after
AOU.
Yeah, Age of Ultron. But anyway, my point is I'm trying to work out when how old his kids are, because then that kind of that's part of his history that we don't know, that we haven't seen, that happened. His kids were obviously born already before Avengers, weren't they?
Yep, and which makes me to believe. Well, before I talk about this, let's talk about the apartment scene with him and Kate, and him going back and talking about, basically, remember before how we talked about so far Kate doesn't grasp the gravity of the situation still, and we still haven't seen that yet up until the very end of episode 4. I think she finally saw the gravity of the situation. But with him telling that basically he was Ronin, she was kind of like, okay, whatever. But because she's still enamored with him being Hawkeye and him being an Avenger, that him kind of telling her about Ronin kind of just rolled off of her like it was nothing.
I think it's we was watching it earlier on, and my wife was getting really frustrated. She was like, God, she's so annoying. Why is she doing this? Why is she not listening to him? And it's like, but I think that's exactly why though, Jarian, because she's like playing a game, isn't she? Yep. And he's very serious about this whole thing. He's like, he said to his mum, said to her mum, I'm going to ensure that she doesn't get hurt. And he sent her home, and he was, cutting the wire so that she would go. And he's almost having a go at her. It's almost like, it's funny, like with the dog, with Lucky the pizza dog. You've seen it in movies before, haven't you? You've seen it in programs where somebody's like shouts at a dog to make the dog go away because they don't want the dog to follow them, but not because they don't want the dog, because it's better for the dog if they stay away. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So if they have a go at them, they'll go away and they'll be safe. But if they don't, they'll follow them. And I think Kate's almost a little bit like that, isn't she?
Yes.
She's like she's almost following Clint around, even though he doesn't want her there.
Yep.
And then you've got I'm not comparing Hayley Steinfeld to a dog, but then you've got the dog following around Kate, haven't you? The dog's like, I'm going to come everywhere you goes, and she's sort of treating it nicely, and she's kind of doing that to Hawkeye, and Hawkeye's kind of trying to push her away.
And even with, and I can see where Hawkeye is coming from in this episode, because that conversation that he had with Kate's mom, which I don't think was her more. I think the conversation that she had with Clint about, you can protect your partner, you can protect Natasha, I don't want my daughter getting hurt. I think that was more of a warning about the overall situation, not just Kate's safety.
Yeah, mate. Well, and that's a nice little segue into, obviously she made the phone call. It seems like she made the phone call to, was it Val that she spoke to? Was it Yelena that she spoke to directly? But obviously then Yelena turns up at the end.
Or it's her calling Kingpin, and Kingpin's in cahoots with Val.
Yep. Yep, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But obviously, you sorry, going back to what you were saying, you might be right there. It might be she's almost giving him a hint, like, get out now before you get hurt, sort of thing.
Exactly.
Because obviously with this, there's a lot going on with her and Jack that we don't know. I don't know whether they know about what's going on with one another.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, I think Armand might have done.
Yes,
which is kind of where he ended up being killed. But there's obviously a lot to resolve in a couple of episodes, isn't there?
It's good to go ahead, Alex, because you were waiting to say something for a little bit. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I really thought that part was interesting where Clint was like looking into Jack and was looking into like, you know, who he is, what he does, like how he's the CEO for the company that's like laundering money. And it was like he knew nothing about him. So like that threw all expectations of ties, everything right out the window for me.
It was cool to see Laura though, but being a bit sort of investigatory, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was really funny watching this episode, watching Clint, you know, kind of constantly be like, "Oh, you're an Avenger. Oh, you're the Archer. You're Aaron." You know what I'm saying? Like everybody just kind of, they never really called him like Hawkeye. Like, and he's got that image problem as Kate talks about, and
marketing.
And she's so focused on like what it's like to be a hero and the appearance of being a hero that even the actual like physical appearance of his costume was mentioned in this last episode where she was like, with the LARPers, they were like, "Oh, well, do you think you could make me a costume?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." And then she's like, "Well, could you make two? Because, you know, he has an image problem. He has a branding issue." Like,
I'm so glad we got more LARPers too, because they crack me up. The LARPers, I like that little piece in these episodes. But back to what Andy was saying about the Armand thing, it's like I think that Bishop was getting close to what Armand was doing, the way he was complaining about her in the first episode, and maybe that's why Jack killed him because I think maybe she was starting to uncover stuff, and maybe, you know, that was going to expose Jack. But we also know that Bishop is not innocent either, because she definitely called somebody sinister after that interaction with Clint.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be interested to see if he comes back, if Armand comes back, if he wasn't really dead, or if something else is going on there.
Do we think Kate's mother could be in cahoots with Jack?
I don't think it's with Jack, but I think she's in with Kingpin or Val or somebody else. That company that she works for is very sinister, because you saw that the tracks are tied to it. Jack's the CEO. There's a lot of shady stuff going on.
I think they all might be. I think they all might be involved with Kingpin. They just don't really know it, or they kind of do, but they don't really know which part each other plays. And Kingpin's playing them all.
Yep. He's basically a puppet master. And they're all kind of isolated to what they do and what they're exposed to.
Yeah, they all think they're working against each other, but in all actuality, they're doing as he wants.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's the one that's sort of pulling all the strings. And if he wants them arguing, they're arguing, or if they're arguing because he wants them arguing.
Yep.
Just cutting back to Laura, it was interesting. Did she speak Russian to Clint then, or did she spoke another language to him? She was the one that found out the information about Jack's company. She knew about the watch, or did not necessarily knew about the watch, but asked him about the other artifacts. So she knows more. I thought she was just sort of, with all due respect, like just Clint's wife at home, but she's not. She obviously knows a lot more about what goes on with his work than we've ever been led to believe before.
I'm going to say it now. She's Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Think about it. Just think about it here, because remember, back to AOU, Fury set up a safe house off the books for the Barton family, right? Think about Mockingbird. Bobby Morse, in the comics.
Yeah.
Her arc in the comics about faking her death, hiding her, that kind of stuff, what she went through, former SHIELD agent. So, and also think about how Fury in the MCU has also kind of played that relationship thing with Banner and Natasha from the first Avengers, saying you never know, you just hope for the best type of thing at the end of AOU as well. So there's some history there in the MCU, Fury playing matchmaker also. But she could be, with her resources, the way she talked, that kind of stuff. She's almost like she's a former SHIELD agent. That has that's off the books now, and their home's off the books. And for me, I think she's gonna be in Mockingbird, and maybe we'll find out her real name is Bobby Morse, and that Laura Barton is just her cover name, or just her to hide her. But maybe we'll find out.
Yeah, they're married and they're a couple. Like her name is
and Mockingbird and Clint were married. Bobby and Clint were married briefly in the comics too. So
they were. Yeah.
There's some history there. So
But
She
yeah,
changed
I'll
her
make
name
you
to
right.
Barton to hide her past, you know. But they're
Yeah.
really, yeah, I do believe they're really married. I'm just saying, watch that twist happen to her being Mockingbird.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a really good shout, and I think that makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yep.
I was just looking, and Cooper, so their oldest son,
Yeah.
would have been born in about 2003, 2004, roughly. That's when he would have been born within the universe. So, fighter. No, hold on.
He'd be about 8 in the first Avengers.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it'd be about 8 or 9 in the first Avengers movie. And then I'm not sure when Age of Ultron took place. Was it about 3 years later, maybe?
Yeah, like 2015, I think.
What's the current year right now?
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah.
2020. Wait a minute. They're in 2024, aren't
Oh,
they?
yeah.
So they're in
Hawkeye,
2024. So 17 plus what? 4, 21
21.
minus 5.
Yeah.
He's 16 years old.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's about sense. And Lila's a little bit younger, isn't she?
Yeah,
So,
she's probably early teens or preteen.
yeah. Talking about his family, that was quite a touching scene. And do you know what? He's so good, Jeremy Renner. I think he's actually a really good actor as well, isn't he? That whole bit in the house when he was explaining about the shot that he never took, and when he was explaining about his family being blipped, he's just so convincing. He really is. He's just excellent. That was really touching, the way they overlaid the music. The
Vormir music.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, the Vormir music, they overlaid that. Then they also did it again when he cut Kate's wire, because he was like, look, let it go, and you get out of here and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, that was really cool. I really like that, and that was again Jeremy Renner sort of flexing his acting chops for me.
But there were some parallels there too of that the shot you don't take. Kate had Yelena dead to rights on that roof. And she also had Echo dead to rights too. And notice with Echo, Maya Lopez, she only got her on the shoulder to kind of get her away. But then with Yelena, she just stopped completely.
Well, Yelena sort of she shook her head at her. She sort of went, no, don't do it. She sort of said, don't do it,
Yeah.
And I guess the age is probably not far different between the two of them. But obviously Yelena's experience is just,
Well, do you think Yelena was more saying don't do it for flash or pushbacks, to Kate, or just saying that you don't want to be a killer like me type of no? What kind of no do you think that was?
Like a don't make a move right now because you're not my target, and if you do, then I'll have to engage you type of thing. I'm choosing mercy right now on you type of thing.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Although I didn't quite understand why she ran off. She seemed to be fairly in control, and then she ran, and then she sort of did that and then left. And I was like, oh.
Well, I think once Kate had the drop on her, she's like, okay, this is something that I don't want Kate. And maybe she didn't want to have Kate involved because again, she did the no. She didn't want to get Kate involved. She kept taking Kate down to where she was out of the picture but not hurt.
Yeah.
Maya was the one that was more engaged with hurting Clint and Kate than Yelena was with Kate.
Yeah, you're not right. Yeah, you're not wrong. I think that would be interesting to see how much Yelena is involved with the next 2 episodes. I'm hoping a lot. I don't think there's much.
I don't think there's much more. Honestly, I think we'll see that, and then when we see like a sit down, I know there's been talk of a sit down talk, because I know there's been some reports before the series came out that maybe there's like a coffee shop talk between Kate and Yelena. So maybe this leads to something more, or maybe something we'll see at the very end of the series. But I don't think Yelena's going to be a big part of the series.
I don't. Let me rephrase what I just said then, because that wasn't strict. I don't necessarily want to see loads. I want to see it resolved.
Yeah.
I want to see her little part in this, and the end scene of Black Widow and what we saw in today's episode, and her she's not stupid. She's a decent person, Yelena. And me personally, I want to see that resolved in this series, in these next 2 episodes.
I think that conversation, because with Clint telling Kate about the whole Black Widow thing and his past and that kind of stuff, I think it ends up being a conversation between Kate and Yelena. I don't think we see Yelena and Clint get engaged again in any kind of fight or anything. I think because with Kate showing her mercy on the roof, maybe, or not taking the shot, maybe Yelena saw something and they have a conversation, and that could be it for now. That's what I'm going to guess.
Yeah, nice. I'll tell you what I'd like to see. I'd like to see Clint at Natasha's grave.
Yes. I thought that was going to be an increase to Black Widow. Remember that? I kept saying that was my guess, the family at her grave. And maybe it isn't in credits. We see the three of them, Clint, Val, and Yelena, at the gravesite.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think we'll see Clint with Val. I reckon he might even be knowledgeable about Val and might not want anything to do with her. But we might see Nathaniel there because, like with Clint and his family, because they're he named Nathaniel was named after Natasha, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. And Pietro.
Mm-hmm. And I think we finally now see that Kate does finally see the gravity of the situation now after the rooftop, because Clint is still showing PTSD. You saw the flashbacks and he was sleeping / laying in the chair. The flashbacks he was having of the snap, of the Ronin days, of Natasha. You saw the similar situation happen with Kate getting thrown off the roof by Yelena, but she was strapped in, so she wasn't gonna get hurt. The way he told her, you have to, we're done, type at the end of the episode. So we know they're not done, but we do know that finally Kate, hopefully now that she's getting the gravity of the situation that's going on.
Well, I was just gonna say, and Clint's such a veteran, like in that area of expertise. Like, even when she's walking down the hallway and she's carrying her bow, and she's like, like, how do you walk around with this thing in places? And he's like, oh, I have a collapsible one. Like, everything, every problem, he's got like a solution for. Everything he's got figured out.
Where Kate's like, who cares? Like the entrance. so that building for the apartment, he's like, she's like, why are we up higher? Vantage point. He's like, no. You want to know your escape exit? It's not how you get in, it's how you get out, type of thing. And all of a sudden she's gone. She's like, you stay here, we look out, all gone. And she's like, whatever. And then she's in the elevator with the guy talking to herself. And then the guy's like, give me my groceries back. And then she goes in the apartment, and then, she's like, what are these alarms going off? And then we find out it's Maya Lopez's apartment, and it's for her sensors for her being for death, her visual indicators. And so she's still not grasping all this yet. You can see she does a little bit in the apartment, but she still doesn't. Even after she's thrown off the roof and Clint tells her to go, she still doesn't listen, still doesn't get it. And maybe it's her not wanting to leave Clint, single-handed. But still, at the very end of that, we finally get that, and we saw that I want to know how Maya Lopez got the family information, and what's the rest of the story with that watch. Right.
Yeah, definitely want to know about watch. Just quickly before we go, so I'd like to speak about a watch actually, but before we go on to that, I think it's just all of this, and like I said, going back to what my wife was saying when she was watching it, going back to what you've been saying, Jarian, and what Alex has been saying about Clint being a veteran. Kate's just very naive and young.
Yes,
and she doesn't really understand the real world implications of what she's doing, which is just generally speaking, is a comment on somebody who's new at work. She's new at work, and this is her work. She's new to being an Avenger. She doesn't really know the ropes. She doesn't really understand the consequences of some things. And Clint's trying to teach her. He's like her journeyman. She's turned up at work. She needs somebody more experienced to show her the ropes. And that's exactly what's going on. And I'll make the comparison again between this kind of sort of almost like worshipped, scenario. You've got the dog who's following Kate around, and Kate's just like, yeah, come on in, I'll feed you pizza or whatever. And then you've got Kate who's following Clint around, and he's like, oh, okay, well, I've got to look after you, but I don't really want to. He's like very reluctant, and he doesn't want her to get hurt. And I think this is her sort of coming of age story almost. But anyway, back to the watch. That'd be interesting to see who that belongs to. What did Clint say? Did he say something along the lines of it was somebody who's no longer operating, but their identity is still tied to it? So could that be
the Mockingbird clue?
Yeah, but it didn't see. One of my, I think my son, I don't know, I think it was one of my kids said, is it her watch? And then my wife went, no, that's a man's watch. Yeah. And to be fair, it does look like a man's watch. I mean, I know there's no such thing really as a man's watch or a female's watch, but it did look like a chunky, sort of bigger watch that a male would wear. So I'm not sure. I like the idea because it makes sense with all of those other little clues that we've spoken about, but I don't think it is. So whose is it?
Could it be Tony Stark's?
It could be.
And it could give access to different things in Avengers Tower.
See, that's what I first thought too, because I thought there was either, I think in the Miles Morales game, there was something with the vault and the artifact. Maybe this was more AIM or something else than Kingpin, but there was something similar in, I think, Miles Morales game. on that storyline. And that's my first thought too, because Jamie and I were talking about this on the side about, is that something, is Fisk the new buyer of Avengers Tower? Does that open up something in Avengers Tower? But what if that watch belonged to Mockingbird's partner before Clint recruited her, or before she got into S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's how her cover can be blown, type of thing too as well. If it's tied to that, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's because they said there's a beacon in the watch, in the watch, which is flashing. I like the idea of what you said, Jarian, about the Kingpin thing. And when I first read it a couple of weeks ago when we was chatting about it, I was like, oh yeah, that's a good plan, that's a good idea. And then I instantly thought, surely Tony wouldn't have been so stupid to just leave stuff in the building when he's gone. The stuff's gonna go. So I don't think that is the way it's going. But yeah, that'd be interesting to see if it's somebody else, or maybe it's Jack's. Maybe it's Jack's watch. Maybe he was, because he was an Avenger, wasn't he? Swordsman was an Avenger before Hawkeye was.
Briefly,
He was the one that brought Hawkeye into the Avengers in the first place, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So maybe it was his. I don't know.
Maybe
that's why he wanted it.
Yeah, maybe Jack and Bobby were partners in S.H.I.E.L.D. before Clint came along.
Maybe,
or maybe the reason why they're off that watch is for Kingpin, and it's someone who went after Kingpin or did something to someone close to Kingpin, and that's the way they find out who that person was.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Could be. Yeah, it could be. I can't quite make out what it was. What it was on there. It looked a bit red, didn't it? The face of it.
Yeah, because at first I thought it was like the watch from from Winter Soldier.
When he grabs the
Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah, when he grabs
the black. Yeah, and the hand comes out. Yeah, I thought that was the similar watch like that, but I don't think it is.
No, I reckon we're along those lines.
Yeah, I think it's more S.H.I.E.L.D. related than Tony Stark related.
Well, it's a Rolex, right? So it's got to be like a very expensive watch in that case, even if it's something else. So somebody that probably has expensive taste would have it. I don't know who that would be, but
and Hawkeye seems to know about that watch too. So
yeah,
maybe it's something to deal with his recruitment into S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see S.H.I.E.L.D. giving like their agents Rolexes. You know what I'm saying? Like that's.
But maybe it was like something off of a mark in the earlier days, and that Rolex was used as a reminder or turned into some kind of device. That type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely important. It's definitely important if they've made sure that they've made it important, haven't they? They've all wanted it. They all want it. The baddies want it, the goodies want it. Other people have got it who don't really know what it is. So it's definitely an important artifact. So it'd be interesting to see exactly what it is. But I'm going to bank on the fact that it's what we was just saying there, that it's somebody's who used to be an Avenger who's sort of in hiding basically, and Fisk wants it to find out who it is so that he can get them.
I'm trying to think, because we don't have any history of pre-Avengers before the Avengers movie.
Well, we kind of do, don't we? They were called. It was the Avengers Initiative back in the 90s when Fury made it the Avengers Initiative.
He started it, yeah, but we have no information other than that of him taking the name off of Carol's jet in the end credits. True. Yeah, in the scene from Captain Marvel. That's all we have.
Yeah, but there's a 15-year period there, isn't there, roughly between 2008, I guess, and whenever that was in the 90s at some point in the early 90s. And actually, if you look at the character who plays Jack, that age might fit in well to somebody who was in their late 20s, in the sort of 90s. So it could well be somebody of that age, or even Armand or someone. There's more going on with Armand that, like,
but you would still think that if it was Swordsman / Jack, that him and Hawkeye would still recognize each other.
Yeah.
That's
what. Yeah, I know. Or maybe Hawkeye doesn't recognize him, but maybe Jack recognizes Hawkeye.
Maybe.
And he's just playing, like you said, he's playing coy. But yeah, I don't know.
Unless he's had some kind of facial reconstruction after his days to.
Natasha did have that face mask thing that she could change her appearance with, so who knows? Maybe they go that route or something.
Maybe.
But there's a lot to unpack in the 2 episodes, because we know all the reports out there are saying that episode 5 is going to set social media ablaze. So
Hello, Fisk.
So most likely
Yeah,
Fisk.
come on, Kingpin.
Yeah, most likely it's Fisk. Most likely there's something else in the episode. Maybe we get some ancient history, because in a lot of these series we've gotten some back history at some point. Yes, we've gotten Kate's back history with the in the first episode, but that's all we've gotten. You know, they're gonna have to explain Kingpin. They're gonna have to explain, you know, at some point Jack. There's more there with Jack that we have not seen yet. You know, they haven't
100%.
explained all the swords. They have, you know, Kate's onto him, but nothing else been explained. So, you know, is Laura Mockingbird? You know, what's gonna happen to Clint's family? You know, how does, you know, I don't think we're gonna see any kind of resolution with Maya Lopez in this series, just for the fact that Echo was doing her own series. So I think in this, by the end of the next 2 episodes, she may find out that she's been duped about her father. I think that's probably gonna be the end of it, and that's gonna roll over into her own series, where it's rumored that Daredevil's in that series as well. So
yeah, she might do a bit of a sort of walk away type thing.
Yep.
You know, like, oh, okay, I'm not going to kill the good guy then.
Yep.
You know, I'm just going to walk away and leave the good guy to then fight the bad guy again. You know.
Yeah.
And come back with like a vengeance, maybe for Kingpin or somebody else later down the line.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think Hawkeye knows that the person that killed her father was not him, just as Ronin, because that whole conversation with Kazi in the Land Cruiser was very interesting to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's like she keeps going this path, she's gonna get hurt. You know, he basically warned him that, you know, you have her ear, tell her to let it go, because, you know, pretty much she's not like what she's gonna find out. I think that's a big clue there, that either what happened is that was Hawkeye as Ronin, hired by Kingpin, because remember there's tracksuit history with him that's mentioned this episode, or it was Kazi dressed as Ronin that killed her father. It's one of those two things that's going to happen, but both of them tie back to Kingpin, and that's why I think he warned Kazi to get her to go away, because she's not going to like what she's going to find out.
Yeah, I think whoever it is, it was Def Kingpin's. He's that puppet master, isn't he? He's pulling all the strings, he's the one that's in control of everything. And I think that's who we're going to see next week. Going to be a big reveal next week.
Or to correct what I said, Kingpin didn't hire Hawkeye during the snap. There's something that Kingpin did to lead Hawkeye to do what he did. If it's Hawkeye in that Ronin suit that did it to her father.
Like Hawkeye killed him trying to get the Fisk kind of type deal.
Or Fisk set her father up to make it believe they were doing something more than they were, because remember, he keeps saying the tracksuits are idiots, basically. So maybe Kingpin did something to make it look like her father was into something more heinous than what he really was in. Remember with Rhodey,
to get him out of the way, maybe.
Yeah, maybe with Rhodey in Mexico, what he found, the bloodbath and that kind of stuff. You know, in Endgame. So
yeah,
there's some trickery there.
I'll tell you one thing I am really disappointed about. We got no bros.
Zero
bros.
We only saw one tracksuit though the whole episode. And that was Kazi.
Yeah, that's true. Or where they've got what was written on their vans, like hire a bro, or
trust a bro.
Trust a bro. Trust a bro. Yeah, I love that. Trust a bro. But yeah, we got no bros. I can't believe it. Jamie's bro count is not going up as high as we all thought it would.
Yeah,
but,
I guessed 3, and I was wrong. I was off at 3.
Yeah, I said 4. So yeah, 0. But look, listen, guys, we've unpacked those 2 episodes quite nicely there, actually, and we've discussed what's happened. We've put our little spin on what we think might happen, and I think it's this really exciting series, and I'm really enjoying this series, probably more than the other Disney Plus shows that we've seen so far, to be totally honest. But yeah, really enjoying it. We've had some good news. As in, we've had some good, you know, nobody's pregnant. We've had a good news section, so I think we've had a decent episode. And again, just looking forward to next week's episode, where I can absolutely guarantee that we will have a special guest on, and it will be Luke next week for certain. This time, I'm not just saying that, not getting my dates wrong, and we're going to preview No Way Home. And that will hopefully be out in the next few days for you guys to listen to. Next Monday, we hope that will be out. But enjoy this episode. Go on, Jarian.
If we record on Sunday, that will be out Monday, because I'll have it done Monday night or Sunday night. So
there we go. You've heard it here first. We will record Sunday.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have recorded last Sunday. By the way, I was just in.
Yeah, you're feeling good.
Not a good place. Not a good place to be. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me. Thank you guys for listening, and catch us next time. Take care.
See you later.
See ya.
Why don't you tell them about the time we faced